About 60 years after Zheng He's death, another new emperor came in, and he was actually thinking of restart this ocean trade or have another kind of a very new policy in place.
Imagine a world where an emperor banned foreign trade, yet exported exquisite porcelain that traveled halfway across the globe. A realm where the Great Wall was not just ancient ruins, but a living, breathing bastion of imperial power. This wasn't ancient history. It was the Ming Dynasty, China's golden age of art, exploration, and innovation. And today, you're about to discover how this powerhouse empire shaped the world and still echoes in our lives today. In this video, we're diving deep into the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, a time when China reasserted control after Mongol rule. The Yuan dynasty ushered in a brilliant renaissance of culture and shook the world with its naval expeditions, artistry, and architectural marvels. Think of it not as a dusty chapter in a history book, but as a living, breathing saga of ambition, creativity, and transformation. We're unraveling the magic of an empire that still influences us today. From rebellion to restoration, the rise of Zhu Yuanzhang. Born into poverty, this future emperor survived famine, joined a rebel group, and ultimately toppled the Mongol Yuan dynasty in 1368. His reign as Emperor Hongwu marked the start of the Ming era and a return to ethnic Han rule. Restoring stability, he rebuilt the centralized bureaucracy, reformed the tax system, and established the Liji Code of Rights to restore Confucian order. His leadership was bold and often ruthless, but it set the foundation for more than 2 centuries of rule. So, from day one, the Ming were all about rebirth, a nation reclaiming its identity and forging an era of stability. Political structure and bureaucracy. Let's chat about how the empire was organized. The 3 tiers. At the top stood the emperor, an autocrat with absolute power, seen as the son of heaven. Beneath him, the Grand Secretariat coordinated policy, essentially the kingmakers behind the scenes. Below that, the 6 ministries, running everything from revenue and military to rituals. Merit over birth. Civil service exams exploded in scope under the Ming. These grueling tests on Confucian classics meant that government jobs were earned, at least in theory, rather than inherited. It was a high-stakes intellectual battleground. Centralization. The Ming reinvested in the power of the state. Eunuchs, both loyal and occasionally corrupt, gained influence, especially in the inner court. Their rise would later both stabilize and destabilize the regime. This wasn't just governance, it was an evolving experiment in how you run an empire without sliding back into chaos. Cultural renaissance. Art, literature, and porcelain. Here's where the Ming truly earned its golden age reputation. Porcelain perfection. Cue the heavenly blue and white porcelain. Ming kilns in Jingdezhen produced ceramics so prized that they washed up in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Each piece, a tiny masterpiece, sophisticated, delicate, and dazzling. Literary flourish. This era gave us vernacular novels like Journey to the West and The Plum in the Golden Vase. Written in everyday language, they enchanted readers across social classes, ushering in a new literary democratization. Painting and calligraphy. From landscapes to portraits, Ming painters mastered a perfect balance of precision and expression. Meanwhile, calligraphy, valued more than gold, was the benchmark of education and elegance. Architecture and gardens. The Forbidden City, a sprawling masterpiece in Beijing, soars with vermilion walls and golden roofs. Elegant imperial gardens like those in Suzhou brought nature, art, and design into harmony. Think of Ming culture as a multi-sensory feast, visible, tactile, lyrical. Maritime might and exploration, ready for some swashbuckling in imperial robes. Zheng He's voyages, 1405 to 1433. This Muslim eunuch commanded enormous treasure fleets, 200-plus ships, thousands of sailors, and visited Southeast Asia, India, the Arabian Peninsula, and East Africa. They brought diplomatic gifts, sailed with swagger, and proved China could project power through water. Why did they stop? After Zheng He, the emperors turned inward. Court politics, economic strain, and a suspicion of foreign devils led to the end of naval expeditions. It was a dramatic pivot, from global projection to isolation. Long-term ripple effects. Those early voyages built networks for trade, cultural exchange, even rice and sugar spread. But ceasing exploration also meant China ceded maritime dominance, leaving space for European colonizers to step in centuries later. It's an epic tale of ambition and then restraint, with consequences that shaped world history. Science, technology, and innovation. Ming isn't just art and bureaucracy, but a time of ingenious innovation. Agricultural breakthroughs. Farmers adopted new crops like sweet potatoes and maize, super hardy and high yield, which helped feed a booming population. Printing press and publishing, mass printing with movable wooden type exploded under Ming. Books on everything, medicine, farming, philosophy, became more accessible. Astronomical advances. Jesuit missionaries introduced Western astronomy. Ming scientists combined these with traditional methods, refined calendars, and star charts. The blend of knowledge sparked fascinating dialogue. So, culture, exploration, and scientific curiosity. The Ming were thinking big, across disciplines, daily life and society. Want to picture yourself in Ming China? Here's what daily life looked like: rich in color, conflict, and connection. Urban life. Cities buzzed. Markets brimmed with bamboo fans, silk wares, and street traders. Tea houses, bustling as any cafe today, were hubs of gossip and poetry recitals. Social classes. A rigid structure, scholar officials at the top, then farmers, artisans, and merchants, though ironically, merchants often thrived. Then the unprivileged, soldiers, laborers, entertainers, many of whom shaped popular culture behind the scenes. Family and ritual, ancestor worship, filial piety, marriage alliances, Confucian values pulsed through every home. Festivals like the Mid-Autumn Moon and Lunar New Year were vibrant, shared traditions. Women's roles. Most women worked behind the scenes, managing households, farms, and sometimes even acting as traders or artisans, though they seldom held official titles. A few, like Empress Zheng, wielded real influence in the palace. The Ming world was dynamic, layered, bustling, and surprisingly familiar in many ways. Challenges, decline, and fall. Golden empires aren't forever, and the Ming had their reckoning. Peasant revolts and famine, bad harvests, heavy taxes, and corruption exploded into widespread rebellion. The Manchu from beyond the Great Wall allied with Ming generals and surged into China. Court turmoil. Eunuchs had grown too powerful, politics had turned poisonous, leaders were unable to govern, and the system buckled. The fall of Beijing, 1644. In a dramatic collapse, rebels stormed the capital. The emperor committed suicide. The dynasty crumbled, and soon after, the Qing dynasty took over. The decline is a potent reminder that no empire, golden or grand, escapes the pull of neglect and corruption. Legacy and why it matters today. Here's the mind-blowing truth. The Ming Dynasty still whispers in our world today. Cultural symbols. When we think classic China, we often imagine Ming-style architecture, shapes of porcelain, painting styles. You see them everywhere, from movies to home decor. Global connections. That early maritime outreach established a tradition of outward-looking diplomacy, even if it halted later. The roots, the artifacts, the dialogues remain in museums and histories globally. Urban identity, Beijing's layout, axis, Forbidden City, temples, carries Ming DNA. So does Suzhou's garden aesthetic, still a blueprint for harmony in landscape design. Values and stories. Ming novels, Confucian governance ideas, tales of human resilience like Zhu Yuanzhang rising from rags, they still inspire storytellers, strategists, and dreamers. In short, the Ming Dynasty wasn't just a historical interval. It's a living legacy that still shapes our art, architecture, literature, and identity. Let me leave you with a few thought-provoking questions for your next tea time chat. If the Ming hadn't turned inward after Zheng He, how might world history look today? Could merit-based bureaucracy, civil service exams, be applied on a grand scale in modern governments? Or does it already exist? How does the idea of a golden age compare between past empires and modern cultural renaissances? The Ming Dynasty may be centuries behind us, but its ambitions, beauty, and lessons still resonate. So when you sip from a fine porcelain mug, wander by a pagoda, or read a powerful novel, know there's a thread that reaches back to that golden empire. Stay curious, stay inspired, And if this journey into China's past left you imagining your own possibility, then hit that subscribe button, share with your fellow history lovers,